pure sort of what you may think of JavaScript. This is very Earth Engine specific JavaScript. It's very easy to use and easy to understand and intuitive. And of course, in Python API, it's in Python language, but under this library EE, code format looks very similar to JavaScript as well. So it's not that different, and it's pretty intuitive if you have used it before. Now, actually, the tricky thing is if you are already a developer, if you are like familiar with Python, and if you have done image processing, there are certain things you may want to unlearn if you want to get this magical power of Earth Engine. Because one important thing I need to mention about Earth Engine is it's not array-based machine. It's a special kind of cloud computing, parallel computing, really fast method, but it's not array-based. What it means is you can use arrays in Earth Engine, but that's not where the magic happens. So instead of using arrays, it's just you can use filter as a collection, and you can compute, for example, hundreds and thousands of images and compute, for example, mean of images instantly. And that's without using array functions. It uses its own cloud computing, and in terms of function-wise, it's just filter. In this case, I'm showing an example of using filter date. So just 2 lines of code, you get images of between these dates. You can also reduce images into one. I mentioned about mean, but here you can use median as well. You can get 10 images between certain period, and you can get median of these images per pixel and create one single image consisting of median values. So these are quite phenomenal when it came out more than 10 years ago. But what is most astonishing part is you can also use synthetic cloud-free images. As you can imagine, our planet is often covered by clouds. And if you're using optical images are those very images you're familiar with your camera. The cloud can get in the way. But if you have this capability that Google Earth Engine provides, you can get 10 or 20 images during a certain period, and you only get rid of the cloudy pixels and replace with not cloudy pixels from the same time period, and you can make cloud-free synthetic imagery that probably never existed during that time, but it's very good information about what the ground looks like during that period. And since I'm talking to a lot of developers here, I thought I would mention about machine learning capabilities that Earth Engine provides. So as I mentioned, there's a JavaScript code editor part of Earth Engine and also a Python API part of Earth Engine. Now, even within this EE environment on the left of the screen, there are lots of machine learning algorithms already in place. And those are called EE classifier, EE clusterer, or EE reducer packages. They are more about classical machine learning techniques, which is like random forest or SVM. You can also use deep learning techniques by accessing to TensorFlow. Now that's through Colab or Python API access and using the Earth Engine for the training data, but the model itself, it uses a TensorFlow, and then the prediction is produced to the Earth Engine. So as I said, for the EE classifiers, there are a lot of classifiers to choose from, and not just the classification output, you can also make regression output, probability or multi-probability. There's a lot already you can do within the Earth Engine or within the JavaScript or on the Internet Explorer itself. And using the TensorFlow, as I said, so Earth Engine part is where the training and testing data come from. And then the modeling is done on the TensorFlow side, and the prediction is then produced and then shown in the Earth Engine. If you want to visualize or if you want to do further processing in Earth Engine, it's spit into the Earth Engine. Now, it's important to mention, though, this is a different topic about Earth Engine. So Earth Engine is free for academic and nonprofits and so forth, that kind of use. It is available for commercial use at cost. But when it comes to using TensorFlow, even you are using for academic purposes, it is using Google Cloud Compute. So it will cost you money. So you do want to be careful about if you are not aware of that. But if you are sticking to this sort of EE classifier, it is within the Earth Engine. So if you're using for research and academic purposes, it's free. If you're going to use TensorFlow, even you are in academia, you are using Google Cloud Compute, so that's going to cost. And so as you can see, there are a lot of techniques you can learn, tips you can get from other people. So a long time ago now, I started this Google Earth Engine tip. Apparently I started in April 2019, and it grew gradually, and more people started to use the Earth Engine, and I started to get more reaction from it. You can go to my website. There's a list of Earth Engine techniques that are popular by people who looked at it, so you can check those. There are also a lot of resources available today. You can go to Google Earth Engine website and community tutorials. There are experts or researchers just giving you hands-on training. There are so many materials on Earth Engine today compared to back in when I started. There's also a GitHub repo that lists among awesome observation code. There are a lot of Earth Engine related code as well. And as I mentioned in the beginning, now we have GDE expert for Earth Engine, and these are the faces of the first cohort. Now we are in the second year, so we will probably have, hopefully, as many added this year. So if you want to be an expert, you need to be nominated by the current expert, but please approach to one of them and see if you can be nominated. And once you're nominated, there's screening, and then there is interview, and which comes with some exams as well. There's also a book relatively recently launched. I'm not sure if it's officially published yet, but it's already available online and it's free. Anyone can have access to. It has a lot of authors, and I'm fortunately among one of the authors. I contributed one subchapter. It's very comprehensive. I think it's very easy to go through and follow. So I recommend if you are interested in learning about Earth Engine. Now, lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the company I work for. So Climate Engine is a scientist-led company started back in 2014 using a grant from Google. This is by a professor whose name is Justin Huntington. He realized the power of Earth Engine, and he thought that can be used even more easily by others. And so it started in 2014, but as a company history is a little bit less. Last 2 years, I believe it was 2 years ago, we became a private entity, and last year we officially became Google Cloud partner, so that we can provide our services a lot more to the private sector. But traditionally, we had clients like NOAA or USGS and so forth. And what's unique about Climate Engine is that using basically Google Cloud and Google Earth Engine technology, we provide Climate Engine API. So it doesn't matter what kind of platform client has on their end. They could be using Esri, they could be using Carto or their own custom UI. But using our API, you can get the data out of Earth Engine or using Google Cloud, and you can do all sorts of power computing. From us, because we are scientist-led, we work with scientists to create all sorts of data sets that are useful for different purposes. And last year, we launched this mosquito forecast with SC Johnson. And we are also expanding this mosquito forecast to other parts of the world. And this is also using Earth Engine. And one of the first examples of commercialization of Google Earth Engine technology. We also have lots of drought-related data sets in agriculture. So that's my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions or any sort of discussions you want to have. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Keiko, for your presentation. Is so very much comprehensive, and we really appreciate it. In fact, I forgot to mention about your contribution in the book, so I had noted that before, but I didn't mention it. Thank you so much that you are noted it. So we really appreciate the work you are doing for the community. Much, that's so good. Thank you so much. So for the community, we are welcoming questions. Please, if you have any question, you can ask here in the chat box. Our presenter, our speaker, before she leaves. So, but before, as you come to ask your questions, I have some few of them here, which I would love we can discuss. So, for the first, now that Google Earth Engine is a cloud platform and it uses satellite data, which now we really understand that satellite data covers all the whole spectrum of the Earth. So, are there some geopolitical or challenges when it comes to using the satellite images in Google Earth Engine? Because I'm thinking of a situation whereby I'm here in Kenya, in Nairobi, working on a project, then I get to work on a project which is using images in another country, maybe in South Africa. Could there be some conflicts whereby, because of trying to map their region without their permission? Please talk about that, please.
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, satellite images provided by NASA, ESA, or any other agencies, if they use their tax money and they make it publicly available, then they are available. It is at the responsibility of the scientist or whoever using it to make any sorts of conclusion, right? So here, domain knowledge becomes really important. Recently, it's more about Russia and Ukraine crisis or the war, and some people did talk about that as well, how much we should actually make these images so easy to interpret and available. But it is currently at the discretion of people who are using it. And you need to be really disciplined and careful about how you're going to use it. So if you're familiar with the political sensitivity of certain countries' images, then you want to be mindful about that, what you are saying and what you can say, and the limitations as to what you can say with satellite imagery. Satellite imagery only shows you what's on top of the surface. It cannot tell you who is underneath, why things happened the way it did. So you want to make it clear what you can tell out of this and what you cannot say about it. I guess that's my 2 cents on this topic.
Okay, so thank you very much. That's making sense. So I understand. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are still joining. So we have another question here which has been provided here. So another question is that what influenced the establishment of Google Earth Engine cloud platform? What led to the development of this new cloud platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think one of the slide I mentioned earlier is that most of the time that scientists spend time on is on the data processing instead of doing actual science. So I think this Google Earth Engine came out of more of a charity arm of Google. So people who are concerned about climate change and biodiversity loss, they wanted to make it easy for scientists to use data coming out of satellites. So that's the main motivation. And the head of Google Earth Engine, Rebecca Moore, particularly, she got interested in protecting redwood trees in California from logging company, and using Google Earth at that time, technology and Google Earth Engine, that was easier to visualize, easier to tell a story that are compelling. So the motivation is more from that end, and Google thought their technological capability in cloud computing can for the scientist, and that's how it came about.
Okay. So thank you very much, Kiko, for that. And then we had a discussion earlier with some friends of me. Then they were worried. Who are the heavy consumers of or heavy users of the Google Earth Engine cloud platform? Because initially you mentioned that you are a private company. Climate Engine is currently a private entity. So who could be your industry focus? Like now, who are your heavy consumers? So that maybe we cannot, so that we won't think like it was, because in our discussion, some of us thought that it is basically for scientific use, for research. But now that you have mentioned that you are working with private entities, who would you say that are most beneficiaries of Google Earth Engine?
Yeah, that's a really hot topic now. So our focus Climate Engine is really the financial sector. There are a few reasons behind that. One, financial companies are responsible for a lot of things happening related to climate change. Secondly, they still do not take advantage of these Earth observation data. They do not have in their traditional business decision-making process incorporating sort of drought forecast or any extreme climate risks or vulnerability or biodiversity loss. So they are the sector we are targeting. And I think there are a lot more even outside of financial sector that they can use these remotely sensed Earth observation data because of their commitment to net zero and also their supply chain management. I think this kind of demand is only growing at the moment.
Okay, so thank you very much for that, Kiko. For me, I am in the financial sector, so when you are mentioning about this is your focus, so you are talking about where I am. So
Yes.
thank you very much. I'm expecting some questions. Yeah. Michael, do you have some question, please?
Yes. Thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all,
Thank you
I want
very much.
to
So,
thank.
okay.
Yes, can I go on?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to thank our speaker
Yes,
for that nice
Michael.
I want to take this opportunity to thank our speaker for that nice presentation. I'm also pleased to be part of this organizing team for this community. So basically, with me, I have two questions to our speaker. The first one is, she has talked about the climate engine, and this is an area whereby I'm also very interested. So my question is, what scope does it climate engine cover? Does it just remain in the United States, or it covers globally? And then secondly, is it free or it's commercial based? Yeah, those are my two questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for your questions. First question, our data set are global. Having said that, some data set we have are region specific. So not every data set is global, but we have global data sets as well. So sometimes it's global, it's a different spatial resolution. If it's certain areas, then it may have higher spatial resolution. There are differences, but we do have global data. Secondly, because we are a company, the data we provide do cost. However, we still have our legacy arm, climateengine.org. So instead of going .com, if you go to .org, you can access to data set for free for research purposes again. So we made it easier for researchers to download and view the data without coding. So that's still there, and we still want to maintain that for research purposes.
Okay, thank you very much for that nice answering. I think that's what I had in terms of questions. Thank you.
Okay, we have Joroge here. He's asking a question. He's raising a hand. Probably he's asking a question. Yes, Mr. Joroge, please.
Thank you for this forum. I believe that with climate change is one of the thematic concerns really coming up in this time. My question is, it's quite important to go into that. And my question goes into two things. One, a lot of research programs usually take the research to commercialization aspect, where they conduct research for a few months, then with the intention of having a product that can really readily just to market. So with climateengine.org, you mentioned that researchers can access that data. So what's the process once they commercialize? And the second, I was able to view that the United Nations, I think it's called Framework Convention on Climate Change, are the ones responsible for carbon credits. Is it possible to anchor companies earning carbon credits through the data or through the models created by Google Earth Engine in this manner? You have a neural model that's able to assess the amount of sinkage or the amount of emissions. Then companies are able now to, against the backdrop of that data, they're able now to claim the carbon credits. Thank you.
Well, excellent questions. That may require a little bit of time to answer, but I'll do my best. So first question, really good point. When there are data available for free, what companies provide at cost? And that's exactly sort of, I need to explain why companies like us do exist. Well, even if the data is free, it doesn't mean it's very easy to use. You still need scientists to actually make the product understandable and ready to use. For example, financial corporations, probably Nicholas know a lot, but they are not interested in sort of, okay, what is NDVI, or what is NDVI? We don't know what that even stands for. Or that's normalization difference index that's used for vegetation health. Well, then you should just call it vegetation health. And I don't understand what's the scale you are using, -1 to 1. What does that even mean? We just want to know what is healthy vegetation and what is at risk. So then you need to rescale this scientific scaling of certain index of this band map into the scale that users are more familiar with, and depending on the purpose that they are using. Because these indicators are really case-by-case basis. They are strengths and weakness depending on what do you want to use it for. So there are still a lot of things you need to do after you get the free data, and there the added value you can do to make it commercial. Also at the same time, you know, the Google Earth too, they make it different pricing mechanism, right? For academic purposes, you can use it for free. For commercial purposes, same platform, same data set, you do have to pay. And companies actually are willing to pay for it because they are making money off of it. They feel more comfortable having that kind of clear arrangement than being later sued for data infringement or any sort of risks. So if the same data used by, for example, insurance company looking at damages by natural disaster, they should pay for that data. So that's also where the thinking of difference between academic purposes and commercial purposes come from. So two reasons, right? Added value, you can still add values to it. And second of all, if you're making money off of that data set, you should pay for it. Your second question on the UNFCCC, UN Framework on Climate Change, I used to work for the UN Environment, so I'm a little bit familiar with. It's a very important part. The carbon accounting is still a very technical area. It requires a lot of modeling, tree height to radar data in order to get at scale carbon credit if you are talking about carbon sequestration by forest, for example. So when you look at programs like REDD+, which is reducing emissions from deforestation and forest production, there are different ways that countries are undertaking in order to calculate how much carbon they are losing or they are gaining. So it's still not very consolidated or consistent across the countries because they have freedom as to how they are going to measure. But they can use these Earth observation data set and techniques to do it much cheaply and much faster. So those are the contributions we can make in the area of carbon. When it comes to emissions being emitted by sources like smelter or other things, there's a lot of new satellites are coming in, like GHGSat, there's also European Space Agency's Sentinel-5, TROPIME, does track some of the emissions. So it's still like a little bit up and coming in terms of measuring that with Earth observation and machine learning. But yeah, it is coming up, but it's still not consistent or consolidated. It's depending on the person who are going to use it and how and at what scale. Hope I answered your questions.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah. So I think we are good. Chris, you have a question?
Yes. So, hi everyone. Yeah, so
Hi.
I'm Jay Christopher, currently working on the organizing team. So, thank you so much, Keiko, for having a very nice presentation. We really loved it. So, I have one question. In Climate Engine, can we connect to other data sources? Let's say we have data in AWS, let's say S3. So, or we have a local file. So, is it possible to connect to those data sources so that when you're making your model decisions, you're able to relate? So, I think that's the question.
Yeah, so short answer would be yes, because with Climate Engine API, it's cloud agnostic, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of cloud platform you're using. But we are a Google partner, so we do use Google Cloud mainly to provide these data. But you can use any data on your end that you're using AWS or Azure or anything. It really doesn't matter what kind of platform you're using. You can use data from Climate Engine in any platform you're using on your end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Chris is a cloud developer, so that's why he's coming with heavy questions. So we really appreciate it. So basically, what I would say is that Google Earth Engine is kind of serverless cloud because it reduces a lot of tasks which are involved in the data processing, especially for geospatial. And we are going to address how to interact with most of these capabilities that we have discussed today in the future sessions. So we are looking forward to having similar sessions in the subsequent weekends so that we can continue the motivation, the sharing of the knowledge with a lot of many of you who are joining us. So as you have heard is that our small community here is backed up by most of Google Earth Engine developer experts here, starting with Keiko. So in the subsequent meetings, we have other Google expert developers who will be coming to share with us more, and we welcome you so that you can get to learn from all these experts who have been approved because of their good work, their expertise, their experience, and the skill towards using Google Earth Engine cloud platform. So we are really much grateful for your presence. We are going to have similar of these sessions. Yes, but now the coming week is on Easter, so that weekend we will not have our session. Our next session will be the weekend after the Easter. So then is when we will get to our first introduction, whereby we will be introducing, getting started now with the hands-on. Now that Keiko has already introduced to you all with Google Earth Engine, what it entails and what are capabilities, all their use cases and everything associated with Google Earth Engine. So we are so much grateful for sure. We lack words to say to you, Keiko, for having such wonderful time with us. Waking up so
Having me.
thank you. Yeah, it's very much.
The next sessions. Hope all the best with your events.
Thank you so much. I see Njoroge is asking a question, please. Yes, Njoroge, I see you have raised a hand. Before
Yes, thank you.
before we yes.
Mine was in addition to the initial question. Well, you said there was pricing for the models once a company goes commercial. Within the pricing models, are they one would call one fits for all for large corporations and startups, or is there a program that allows startups to get the data at what we'd call a subsidized cost? The second is in relation to your experience at UNEP. Is there a policy towards the use of satellite imagery for, say, for example, on the carbon accounting? Or is it more of one research group or one company coming with their own model and doing proof of concept?
So the first question, yes, I think there is some pricing like hierarchy. I think there's a website on this, so I shouldn't probably talk off of my head. But if it's just one user, this is a price. But between like 2 users to more, these are the pricing. I've seen that pricing for Earth Engine, and also the pricing for sort of synchronous server, asynchronous server response. They are slightly different pricing as well. So I think you may want to look at that website. It's under Google Earth Engine or Google Cloud. There is a table for that. Second question, can you explain a little bit more about it? Are you asking like different companies have different methodologies to measure carbon?
Oh yes, whether there is a policy or methodology that companies are supposed to use, or each company approaching. I think since there's some companies more or less like carbon auditors.
Yes.
So do they have a certain methodology? Or is it more each own methodology?
So most of the kind of reputable or verified carbons have to use some sort of standard. Like BCS is probably one of the biggest ones. There are a few other carbon standards that people adhere to. But what companies do is they provide data to for that standard in order to be able to monitor those and to get actual those biomass calculation. That's where methodology may differ a little bit, but overall it's quite similar. But it's still very heavily academic area when it comes to measuring. But companies like maybe you've heard Pachama or Earthshot or Space Intelligence, those are the companies providing those carbon estimation. And because they are a company, they are not going to disclose exact methodology, but the standard itself has to be transparent, and those are by one of 3 usually organizations like BCS.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Then we have one of our audience here is called Poda, is asking that you can give a free book link. I don't know how this is.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I think I can put it hopefully right now.
Yes, Sylvia, please.
Or if not right now, I will send a message to Nicholas, and maybe can you share result first?
Sure, I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's efabook.org. Let me put in a chat.
Fantastic. Now it is here, it is available. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Then we are waiting we have very soon. Then Christopher, you had something to say, please.
Yes. So I had maybe Keiko can explain on everything about. I believe we have some researchers on the platform. So there is one application that is going on. So related carbon removal on seaweed, tropical forestation and such. I thought that you can maybe explain a little bit about those people who have those projects and can apply. Yeah. Thank you.
People who are monitoring deforestation, is that?
The research proposal that is going on right now regarding carbon removal. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's, I think I have tweeted that information very recently.
Sure.
That's from Google.
Yeah.
So I think the best person to answer that question would be someone from Google. But I think that link gives you a lot about it. I will paste it here as well if anyone interested. So it talks about a few different areas of carbon removal, like seaweed, afforestation, reforestation. Blue carbon is basically from the sea, and enhanced weathering. So if you are working on any of these areas, you can probably apply for this Google award. That's really the extent I know, unfortunately, but you can contact someone there. I'm sure there is contact information. Yeah, Google CDR awards at google.com. They would be the best person to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, Michael.
Yes. Hi once more. So actually, I'm supposed to be the final winding up. So, but before I wind up, I do have one question still. Considering Google, I think, has got a historical data set, like for example, like Landsat data series. You realize that there's a period whereby from I don't know if it's globally, but here in Kenya, for example, there's a period from 2000 to around 2012 whereby by then now it was Landsat 5 and Landsat 7. So you realize that it is hard to get those images from Google Earth Engine platform. They are not there. So maybe Keiko can try to explain about that one maybe before I give final remarks.
So is that particular to Kenya, or are you talking about the Landsat 5 or 7 programs?
Yes. So basically, from 2000 to around 2012. So basically, the images are not available on Google Earth Engine, especially for Landsat 5. Landsat 7 can be available, but now it has got a lot of strippings. But now Landsat 5 are no longer there. So
Landsat 5 is still there in Earth Engine. Sometimes they deprecate dataset, but they upload again as a different name. So when you search again, they may have changed the naming, or because recently there's a whole Landsat level collection 2, which is much better than collection 1. So maybe they reorganized the data set. But Landsat 5 and 7 still available. And I also like Landsat 5 more than 7 because of the scanner failure issues. So yeah, you can still use Landsat 5. Now Landsat 9 is already ingested in Earth Engine. So you can, for the new ones, but historical one, yes, we may have to continue to rely on Landsat 5.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that answering. So basically, I've actually used Landsat 9 so far, and it's so nice. I think you people are doing nice work. Yeah. So otherwise, I think I want to take this opportunity to thank you for having this presentation. It has been a nice one, and we are looking forward to having many more in the few weeks that are coming, probably to June. Yeah, so all the participants who are here, who are in today and who will be joining us, I feel pleasure to be part of this team. We are focused to achieving more, and most importantly, try to use the technology that is currently in place to make sure that we improve our environment, especially on climate change, because that is our area of interest. Otherwise, thank you so much, Nicholas. Back to you.
Okay, so thank you. I am Nicholas. Now, who is talking is Michael and Christopher, who are the lead organizers of this community, small community here we are starting up. Then it was so impressive that when we launched this campaign, we received so many registrants. We were even thinking of switching to other channels whereby we could use to accommodate many of us. So we were really happy to have you here. So whatever is coming up is better and much better. So you keep on looking on our social medias. We are going to have several platforms whereby we will be able to share our communications towards the subsequent events. So we are looking forward to have a good platform whereby we could be communicating for all our interested audience, so that you want to be able to miss an opportunity to learn with us. A lot is coming up with the support of the Google Ad Engine developer experts. So we really look forward to having you in the next session, which now will be introduction to the Google Ad Engine itself, which now this will be an hands-on session. So we keep an eye on our social medias, but we'll be able to establish a good platform. Like for the coming session, which now it will be a hands-on session, we look forward to having something like a GitHub repository, so that in the future, in the event that you want to refer anything, you can access the GitHub repository, then you get to learn what was shared in the previous session. So also we would love to have another, like for the recording of this, I think Christopher can talk about this then, so that we can be able to access some of this resourceful information when we have had such wonderful speakers. Some of the information cannot be accessed anywhere unless you get it from these serious and experts who have been already practicing and have been using Google Earth Engine. So such sessions should not be concluded, and we really appreciate our speakers who will be coming to share with us. We will be having like a YouTube channel whereby we can be able to share some of these sessions for future learning for young people who will be coming behind us, so that they can get to learn where we started, and they can, even if anything that they want to learn, they can get to access in that YouTube channel. This is something which is going to benefit so many of us. So we really appreciate your support in this, and we really welcome you in the future days. So Keiko, we would love to give the final thanks and really appreciate your presence with us, and in the future days, if we call upon for your help, I hope you will be glad to assist us in the future.
You got cut off at the end, but I think I got it. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me, and we hope to have an opportunity again sometime in the future.
Yes, so thank you very much. You are able, now for our audience, you are able to leave at your pleasure. Our speaker,
Thank you so much.
speaker, we are really much grateful. Thank you. Yes.